Hello, hello, hello. Trading and investing of any kind carries risk. Everything discussed here is for entertainment purposes only and not to be taken as financial advice. All right, so let's talk about why most traders tend to struggle in the beginning or, in some cases fail, but, struggle to succeed for so long. So, first of all, you have to understand it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's going to take a really long time to learn it. It's like changing careers, right? It's not something that you can pick up in a weekend. You talk to anybody that's been doing this and they're successful at it, it has taken them probably what seems like a lifetime to achieve something. So one of the biggest issues that people tend to fail at is they have a bit of a poor foundation. And so what I mean by a poor foundation is understanding candlesticks and volume. So, you can go read about patterns and, Fibonacci and all these things that exist out there. But none of that is going to help you if you do not understand basic candlesticks. Candlesticks tell you the story of what is happening when you're, when you're at a Fibonacci level or when you're at a, potential reversal zone or when you're at a support resistance line. Like that's kind of how you get an idea of what is happening, when to enter a trade, when to exit trades. Like candlesticks are very important, probably most important, honestly. You can be a successful trader trading support and resistance with if you really understand candlesticks and to some degree just basic patterns, like M's and W's and like heads and shoulders and stuff like that. So when I first started trading, I became a decent trader and I only traded W patterns, M patterns, and head and shoulders patterns. Those are the three things that I traded. So a lot of people, when they start, they start looking at candlesticks and they're like, oh, okay, that's what a candlestick looks like. But if I showed you a pattern, that's actually being built out, wouldn't you know that, a counterattack pattern turns into a piercing pattern, which turns into an engulfing pattern, like a bear or a bullish engulfing pattern, or vice versa, right? Like a dark cloud cover turns into a bearish engulfing. Those are the things, and that's just very basic. So it's very important to understand candlesticks, and most people just don't understand it. So outside of that, so for support and resistance, candlesticks, and basic patterns, you can become a successful trader just knowing those things. So how do you get good? Well, here is where I started. So most, people today don't like books, but I like books because I can carry them around anywhere, and if my iPad's not working or whatever the case, So this is the first book. Actually, it's not the first book. This is the second edition of the first book that I ever used to learn to trade. I understood basic support and resistance. I didn't fully understand it, but I got this book, and it's a very, it's not fun to read this book. I mean, it is very, very informative, but that's all that it is. So that was the first book, and the second book I got was this Coulling book about volume price analysis. Now, I wouldn't consider myself to be a volume price analysis trader, but it really helped me understand. It helped me understand how volume affects price, right? How volume affects what's going on around me. So those two books are where I started. And then after that, the same guy that wrote that first book I showed you put this book out. It's called the Candlestick Course. This book, I think for a new trader or a trader who's not really good at candlesticks, I think this is a bit of the Bible, to be completely honest. And I say that because in this book, you have at the end of these sections, you have these questions, right, that he'll put up. And it just shows you different things, and you have to answer, you don't have to, but if you're really trying to get good at this, you'll go through them. It's boring. Nobody wants to have to take a test or a quiz, but to quiz yourself on these things is very important. So, and even as a trader, a successful trader, I still have things like this, like Candlestick cheat sheets and all kinds of stuff that I just leave scattered amongst my desk because, there's sometimes I'll get in a trade and, I'll kind of slap myself and why did I get in that? Right? Well, a lot of the time I got in it because I saw something, right? It was just, I saw it, I got in the trade, but, I have to go back and figure out, like, what is it that I saw? Well, I've been doing it long enough to where evidently, I saw a candle pattern, something very basic at a support line that might have also equaled, the C to D leg of another play. And if you don't know what a C to D leg means, that's fine. You don't have to really know that to get started and be a good basic trader. A lot of people, like I said, start going off and reading things about harmonics and Fibonacci and all these other things that they're not going to be beneficial to you. Yeah, hindsight, you'll be able to go draw them and you'll be able to, oh, look, there's this particular harmonic pattern that showed up. Fantastic. But what does that mean? Well, you probably have no idea. And if you do have an idea, good for you. But if you don't understand how to determine the PRZ, which is a reversal zone, and understand where that is, why it might be there, what the potential pattern is, and is it actually trying to curl and reverse? And if it doesn't, well, where's it going to go if it doesn't? Like, what's the potential next stop? So that all sounds very complicated, and it's because it is complicated. It is very complicated. So these are the things that I try to tell people, and I'll try to make several videos about this. I'm not going to teach you, but what I will tell you is after I learn the basics of trading, I will be happy to tell you the individual that taught me how to trade and the place that I went to learn how to trade. So, and this person's not paying me, I pay them. I still do. So after that, to start to understand, so after you understand those first three things, right? Support, resistance, candlesticks, and then, basic, like MW, head and shoulders patterns, then you can start looking at things like, VWAP. VWAP is kind of like, I just consider it to be I consider it to be gravity. And the candlesticks tend to, orbit around it in some way or another. Now, sometimes get hit by a meteor, right? And when you do, it shoves it pretty far away. And then, after that, you can start understanding other tools, Fibonacci, harmonic patterns, MACD to understand, where the volume is or where the momentum is, like momentum indicators. So the very basics of this video are those things, right? And so what I will do is I will put a link in the description down here, and I will put a link to a couple of things, maybe to see how it goes. So I'll put another video together and one after that maybe to kind of talk more in depth about some of these things, why these things are important, what support and resistance looks like, and all of that. Because these are the things that I had to learn, before I was able to really be good at trading. And when I say good, I mean just like maybe 50-50 to where, you can be a good 50-50 trader to where you're only winning 50% of your trades and you can still be profitable, because I was that guy. I was able to win on 50% of my trades. And it was because 50% of the time I would have winners, but those winners I would let go. And then the 50% that were losers, I would cut them. Now, they didn't always turn out to be losers. There were a lot of times where I cut that trade and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. But that was okay at the time because, I didn't understand all the rest of these things. So outside of that, until the next one, I will see everybody later.